Building a nourishing diet 1 month at a time. I got a lot of feedback about the video series on endocrine system, hormones, nutrition, and there are quite a few people who feel overwhelmed because they weren't raised in a home that taught the fundamentals of how to eat nourishing foods, how to prepare them, what even are they? So I was just asked questions on, well, how would I start? Where would I start? How would I do this? And so I said, I'll try to do a video series on it, but it can be really overwhelming to start doing anything diet oriented. And when I say diet, I don't mean weight loss. So it can be a little bit overwhelming because we do have a society that's focused on weight loss more than stewardship, and who's focused on like biohacking or extreme this, extreme that, and restrictive diets, and go 30 days without eating anything that has, it's just, there's so much money to be had in the weight loss industry. And I was counting, and it's been about 13 years that I have been really focused on building a nutritional diet. I have a 5-week meal plan of what we actually eat, both lunch and dinner, on my website. I have all of our dinner recipes. It's www.truthandsong.com. Because I believe that being a good steward of our body is biblical. And God only gave us one body. We have new days, and there's so many opportunities to do things, but we only have one body. And everybody's going to die from something, but a lot of people live life where they aren't able to do much because they are suffering the consequences of poor health choices. And some of them were just bad advice from doctors or bad advice from nutrition experts who have premises based on evolution and paleontology. It's just, there's so much false, non-biblical propaganda focused from money making. That's the best way I could say that. So I just want you to know that that is not where I'm coming from. I believe in biblical principles, and I am going to focus on stewardship, moderation, not a body image focus. Because when we get to heaven, it's not, and when you die, people are going to be like, wow, and her house was beautiful and she had a 6-pack. It's not that important. But good health and good stewardship of something that God gave you is. So I look at this as building blocks, 1 month at a time, because it has to be sustainable. And when things are overwhelming and it's just this sudden overhaul of your life, it's ridiculous. It's so much pressure. We already live in a very stress-oriented society, which I talk about in the endocrine hormone videos, calming your nervous system. So I'm going to start with what I believe, after 13 years of really focusing on health and nutrition and nourishment, I'm putting them in what I believe are the order of priorities to help you have the energy and the health you need to serve the Lord. The first month, the only thing that I would focus on for the large, especially if you're coming from the American Standard Diet or the extreme restrictive eating lifestyle, the very first thing I would do is spend a whole month getting into your system what I talked about in the 6th video of the hormone series, which is increasing your retinol and copper so that you can have the ceruloplasmin. And if you haven't watched that video series, please do. It will make a lot more sense. But increasing your retinol and copper. For our family, we make, I mix 1.5 pounds of ground pork with 1 pound of beef liver, and I chop it all up, and I add some salt and pepper and garlic powder and minced onions, and then I make them into jerky strips, and then we eat them throughout the week. I freeze them, and then we just take out little bits at a time and eat them, and I eat mine with a bite of jerky and then a bite of an orange. Get your vitamin C, but also then it helps cut the flavor of liver if you don't like liver. Half of my family, more than half of my family, are like, this is so good, and I'm all, oh Lord, please help me. Maybe it's just because I'm older when I start eating it, but retinol and copper sources, you can do it with desiccated beef liver, you can do it with oysters, cooked oysters, but find a source of copper and retinol so that you can create ceruloplasmin. Find a magnesium source, because your body needs magnesium to actually literally form the process of creating energy in your mitochondria for your metabolism. So you need magnesium not only for energy, but also so that your body can have a repair and recover mode, both with epinephrine, adrenaline, and which is adrenaline, and then cortisol and cortisone. And magnesium is important for every single heartbeat that you have. Potassium and sodium. So one of the things that we do is we do drink raw milk, but that's because it is available for us, and it is not as, anyway, there are lots of reasons why, and you could research that on your own, but we have what I call a mitochondria milk, and in it we have 8 ounces of raw milk, 1 tablespoon of unsweetened cocoa powder, 1 tablespoon of demerara sugar, which is just dried sugar cane. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and then 1/8 teaspoon of sodium. And what you're going to get in there is everything that you need for your thyroid and for your adrenals, and you get your calcium. It's just, it works for your health. And it's chocolate milk. So that's a good source of your potassium and sodium, because cream of tartar is just a good source of potassium. I put cream of tartar in almost all of the baking things that we make because it's a good source of potassium. And then, but whatever you want, you can research foods that have a good source of potassium and then eat whatever you want with that. And then removing high fructose corn syrup from your diet. Go ahead and watch video number 2 of the hormone series and video number 6 on that series to understand why. And then ascorbic acid is detrimental to the absorption of copper, because ascorbic acid isn't a complex vitamin C that you would find in foods, and your body needs the complex vitamin C found in foods to transport copper throughout your body. So that's the first thing, is just doing those basic stop 2 things, start 2 things for ceruloplasmin to get into your body so that your mitochondria can be healthy. And then start entering your foods into something like MyFitnessPal so you can see how many calories you're eating. I am not an extreme calorie counter, because it can become perfectionistic and it can become immoderate, both. It can become immoderate and extreme, and that can become the focus of your life, and then you forget that you're actually here to serve the Lord and to know Him, and you wake up in the day and you're trying to be so perfect. But I do think it's important the Bible says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. You need to be aware of how much you're eating, especially if you're under eating, when you've been in this restrictive health food world, or if you're overeating, which is the typical standard American diet. You need to know how much you're eating, and that will lead to month 2. Oh, let me say really quickly, I'm only talking about stage 1 here. If you go month by month, this is 12 months of a plan, but this first stage, the first 4 months, only focuses on your mitochondria health. This is just how to create a foundation of just cellular health. So the first month is just getting the minerals in that you need, and then I'm going to talk about insulin resistance. Month 2, the focus is on insulin resistance, and for that, what you have to do with insulin resistance is to pair your carbs with a fat or a protein substance. I'm not going to tell you the specific ratios, but what I try to do is that I know what my protein is, and I know what my fat is, and then just the rest is probably going to be a carb from vegetables or a whole grain. So I focus my meals first on the protein source, and then I always make sure that I pair it with a carb that comes from a vegetable or a complex carbohydrate. So just keep that in mind when you go for a breakfast, and that's what I'm talking about. Month 2 is a focus on breakfast. Breakfast is important because it's when your body comes out of the all-night fast. And you want your body to just have a regular rhythm of using the sugars that you're eating in a moderate way to where there's no huge glucose spike, and to where you're not eating so many sugars like your bowl full of cereal with your glass of orange juice. That's a lot of sugars, and your cells can't hold them all. It's like stuffing a suitcase full, or stuffing a carry-on just so full of sugar, and there comes a point where you can't stick any more in, or else it's going to break down. And that's what happens to your mitochondria when you have so many sugars, especially ones that can be absorbed quickly and go into your bloodstream in one huge spike. The body needs to know, what do I do with all this sugar? Your pancreas creates the insulin and says, okay, we got to get that into the cells pretty fast because that blood sugar is high. But when you have so much and you're regularly eating that many carbs, then your cells can't handle it, and there's a whole bunch of oxidative stress. That's in video 2. But you want to have breakfasts that are a balance of proteins and fats, and let your carbs be your complex carbohydrates or vegetables or fruit. For me, I actually have I have 10 different single serve breakfasts that I have in a cookbook for my family. I don't have the pictures taken for them yet to put them up on our website, but they will eventually be there. But we do one pancake. It's a higher protein pancake. It includes 2 eggs in the recipe, or 1 egg and a 1/4 cup of cottage cheese. So that's a higher protein pancake. And then we just have 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. So you see that you have your high amount of protein and fats with your eggs and cottage cheese, and then instead of a 1/4 cup or a 1/3 cup of syrup that just you drown everything in, is you just have delicious food, but it's in moderation. The Bible says, eat so much honey as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled thereof with and vomit up. And it says, to eat too much honey is not good. But it also says eat honey in and of itself is because it is good. So there is a balance. You can have sweets, but to eat too much honey is not good. So just be careful for your moderation. Other things like 1 piece of toast with 2 eggs, instead of, toast with jelly and pancakes and hash browns and an egg and a bacon on the side. So keep in moderation. So there are things like that. And you can look at high protein breakfast options, but very often they include eggs. So keep an eye out. I'm trying to get those breakfasts up on our website, but focus on a balanced breakfast that includes healthy, real proteins, fats, and carbs. So as far as your foods, that's what you're going to do in month 2, but also for that calorie, keeping track of what you're eating. The only thing I would want you to do in month 2 is to either increase or decrease your calories by 200 calories to get to what your body actually needs, that basal metabolic rate. How many calories would you be burning if you were within a healthy weight range? And your healthy weight range usually has about 19% to 24, 25-ish body fat. That's what your body mass index would be. So go online, find a body mass index calculator, say how much is a healthy weight range for my body, and then figure out how many calories that is for a healthy weight range and where you feel comfortable in that, and then either increase or decrease your calories of what you were eating that you could test in month 1 to get to that point. Don't do more than 200 calories. It's it's extreme. It's very, very difficult to do. It starts having this diet mindset, and I'm not trying to have a diet mindset. My goal is for you to be a good steward and to eat in moderation and have temperance just for a healthy weight range. That's it. To be healthy. Not underweight, not overweight, a healthy weight range. That statistically is known that will have less heart problems, less problems with diabetes, less problem with, there are statistics about that, both with undereating and overeating, a healthy weight range. Month number 3, this again still is focused on that insulin resistance area, because the standard American diet, meat, cheese, and carbs, and a side of sugary drink and also dessert. Sugar and overeating, people don't even consider a drink as a dessert item, but a drink is usually a dessert item. It has way more sugar. Somebody said one soda, it has more sugar in it than one 12-ounce soda has more sugar in it than 6 donuts. And somebody's like, I didn't even know donuts were that good for me. So when you don't consider what you drink as a food item, as a glucose item, as a trying to stuff your cells full of 6 donuts worth of sugar in just the 12-ounce one. I'm not talking about your McDonald's $1 drink or your Starbucks or whatever the coffee drink is that's just pumped full of sugar. It will have an effect on your cells. It is damaging to your cells. So insulin resistance, what I encourage people to do in this 3rd month, and I know I'm hitting the addiction areas, and I'm probably going to lose people on just this one, because somebody said once people would rather change their religion than change the foods that they are addicted to. But what I say is switch from man-made drinks to God-made drinks in this 3rd month. What are God-made drinks? Tea. And again, moderation. That balance that I was talking about not to have that glucose spike, because you have these simple sugars without any fats or anything to balance it out so that it digests slowly, and that the sugar comes through your body a little bit slower, a little bit more systematically, so that your body can actually burn some of that sugar before it has to stuff more in. So that's why that slow glucose rate is important. So when you have a drink that is a God-made drink, like tea or coffee or milk or water or lemon water, make sure that you limit the sugar in it. Like if you have lemon, and lemon is a carb, and if you're going to have lemon with, like, say, a tablespoon of sugar in it, then where's your fat? What are you going to eat it? So I would look at lemon water as a fruit snack and have a cheese stick with it, or maybe 6 or 7 almonds, something like that. So you're balancing your sugars with a fat or with a protein. That chocolate milk that I talked about earlier, that is a balance of so many good things mixed in with a little bit of sugar. And then your coffee. For me, I have coffee with a tablespoon of sugar and a tablespoon of cream, and sometimes some cinnamon and some vanilla extract. So I'm always pairing a fat with a sugar in moderation. Same thing with tea. Pair it with a cream. A heavy whipping cream has quite a bit of fat in it, and you can have that, and it has actually retinol in it, so your fat with your sugar. But switch to God-made drinks, not man-made drinks. That being said, once a month, because I believe that all of it's in moderation. I'm not a fan of orthorexia, which is that fear of eating or drinking something that's not pure. You know the exact source of what cow that heavy whipping cream came from. It's okay to occasionally have, I will occasionally have a McDonald's caramel frappe, a small one. And I know that it has high fructose corn syrup in it, but it's not part of my habits. It's not part of my life. It's not a weekly thing. It's just it's okay occasionally to have something, and I keep it small. So keep that in mind, but as your habit, as your routine, as your addiction, choose 8 ounces, 12 ounces of God-made drinks. And then as far as your calories are concerned, this is a new month, and try to either bring your calories down or up by 200 calories to get closer to that healthy weight range calorie goal. And then the 4th month, and this is the last one I'm going to talk about in this video, and man, it's been 20 minutes, still is that focus on insulin resistance, because the minerals and your sugar balance is what causes a healthy mitochondria, which is what causes a healthy thyroid that can actually make your metabolism function. Your thyroid, they say your thyroid controls the rate of your metabolism, but imagine a factory where you have, imagine a cheese factory where you have to make cheese, and somebody says, well, we have an overabundance of milk, but we have no workers, and therefore you can't make cheese. And so the thyroid, who's the general manager of it all, says, well, we're just going to slow down, and we're going to slow down our production rate of our energy and our metabolism, because we don't have the right balance of everything that we need to move forward. So what I'm trying to do in the 1st month is to get those minerals up, which I would consider the workers at the factory. And then I'm trying to scale back the sugar, the glucose, the carbs, to where you have a continual, moderate supply, to where your mitochondria can create energy with that magnesium, and to where you don't have free-floating insulin, which is then going to cause your pancreas to, it's the boy that cried wolf. You know, your body says, we have a lot of sugar in our blood, we should produce more insulin, and your pancreas says, wait, we already produced, there's insulin floating in that body, we don't need to produce more insulin. So your pancreas just slows down its rate of insulin production. You have high blood sugar, you get labeled with diabetes, type 2 diabetes. So I'm trying to focus on the insulin resistance. Month number 4, change your snacks to real food snacks with that balance, that healthy balance of protein, fats, and carbs. For me personally, I find that my snacks are almost always a dairy product and a fruit, whether it's cottage cheese with pineapple, or a cheese stick and an apple, or a little cup of milk with an orange. They're almost always that. You don't need to spend $1 to get a bar of a Luna bar when you could just have fruit. And a Luna bar has way more fruits in it. And again, your juices. You have a 20-ounce juice that has way more. It has the same amount of sugar as a Red Bull in it. And that talks about the drinks in number 2, or month number 3. But I consider fruit juices the same thing as a snack, and you have to scale back and scale back and scale back to maybe like a half a cup of a juice with a protein. And your protein could also be a beef liver jerky, or a homemade jerky, or you have a hard-boiled egg. There's protein substances that are easy and readily available. I cut an ounce of cheese and chop it up into little chunks for my kids. So that's usually what our go-to snacks are, is a protein, a dairy product with a fruit. So, and then by month 4, if you are doing the 200 calories, by month 4, you either drop or increase your calories by 200 calories, and you're probably getting close to that weight range. If you've reached that calorie level of what a healthy weight range is, then I just want you to stop and maintain that, and just keep yourself accountable. And by this time, your brain should be catching up to how much calories different foods have in them, how much calories real foods have in them, and you're gaining knowledge. And that knowledge is very, very important, because you're re-educating yourself on what is healthy and what is moderate. So that is it for stage 1, those first 4 months, and that is entirely focused literally on your cellular structure to create thyroid health, mitochondrial health, and pancreas health. It's just a cell issue. You cannot move forward in any type of diet without having a foundation of nutrition, nutritional balance, and mineral balance and health.